Hello everyone, I'm Jessica, and I want to share the challenges I've faced with my stepmother, Carol. I refer to her by her name because she has never acted in a motherly capacity, nor has she shown any desire to do so. From the moment my father, Frank, introduced us, Carol made her feelings unmistakably clear. Away from Dad, she bluntly told me, "Don't get any ideas about me being your mom. You're just my husband's daughter, and that's it. You're old enough to take care of yourself, so don't expect me to go out of my way for you." I tried to keep the peace, replying, "That's fine, Carol, I'm quite self-sufficient. I just want Dad to be happy. I promise I won't be a problem for you." But to Carol, I was an obstacle. She retorted, "You're already causing trouble. Don't think you can outsmart me. I've dealt with teenagers before, and once you turn 20, I'll make sure you're out of our lives for good. Then I'll have Frank all to myself." Her hostility didn't stop there. Carol even insulted my late mother, which cut deep. My mom passed away when I was only 10. And it took my dad a long time to open his heart again. Because of this, I hesitated to tell Dad about Carol's cruel remarks, a choice I now regret. After marrying my dad, Carol's behavior took a turn for the worse. She openly expressed her dislike for children and her desire to distance me from our family, something she had conveniently left out before their wedding. When Dad supported me, Carol resorted to sabotage, ruining her meals and blaming me. She would complain to Dad, saying, "Look at what your daughter has done. She's ruined my cooking. I won't cook for her, and next, she'll probably poison me." Caught in the middle, Dad would ask for my side, and I'd respond honestly, "I have no idea what she's talking about. Dad, I'm happy to prepare my meals. I wasn't even home earlier. I got takeout to eat in my room." This left me feeling trapped in a relentless cycle of accusations, longing for peace and unity in our family. Let me be clear, if things don't change, I genuinely fear for my safety due to Carol's actions. For the 3 years she's been in my life, she has done unimaginable things, starting with petty acts like oversalting her food to frame me. While this might seem trivial, it was only the beginning. Thankfully, my dad eventually came to believe my side of the story, thanks to the overwhelming evidence I had gathered. Carol's antics escalated to cutting off my phone service, locking me out of the house for hours, hiding my car keys on important exam days, and even throwing away a project I spent a week completing. Despite my dad's attempts to address these issues, Carol's behavior remained unchanged. She would only pretend to improve temporarily before reverting to her harmful ways. After enduring a year of this, I decided to take control of my life. I got a job and started paying for my essentials, aiming to minimize Carol's influence. While my dad was saddened by this decision, I assured him that being financially independent was the best path for me. Carol, who viewed my dad's finances as her own, disapproved of any spending on me, pushing me to keep a low profile to avoid her wrath. Yet she continued to make my life miserable, steadfast in her vow to drive me out of the house and out of her life. Little did she know, fate had a twist in store for both of us. The real chaos erupted just weeks after my 20th birthday. Carol seemed uncharacteristically cheerful, likely believing I would soon be out of her hair. However, I was one step ahead, having overheard her plotting with a friend about how to force me out. So, when I returned from work to find my belongings packed, instead of feeling defeated, I was intrigued. I confronted her calmly, feigning curiosity. "Hey Carol, why are my things packed? Are we going on a trip?" Her attempt to unsettle me backfired. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me distressed. My question, tinged with sarcasm, was a clear signal that I was aware of her plan and that I wasn't as vulnerable as she had hoped. Carol smugly reminded me of her vow to evict me the moment I turned 20. "Remember, I told you I'd kick you out once you were an adult? Well, the time has come for you to leave. Out of the goodness of my heart, I've packed your things to make your exit easier," she declared, believing she was doing me a favor. "Oh, so you're trying to kick me out of my own home?" I replied, my tone calm yet firm. "This isn't just any house, Carol, this is my house, and you have no right to force me out. We'll see what Frank has to say about this." Carol's smirk widened, revealing her confidence. She was already fantasizing about repurposing my room, but I had a surprise that would turn the tables entirely. With a calm demeanor, I reached into my bag and pulled out some documents, handing them over to her. The puzzled look on Carol's face brought a smirk to my lips. "I think today is the perfect day for you to take a good look at these papers, Carol, especially given your plans to evict me." As she began reading, her confusion turned to shock, and by the time she looked up, her face was flushed with anger. "Is this an eviction notice for me? What on earth, Jessica? What do these papers mean?" "They mean, Carol, that you have to leave this house within a month. That's the standard implication of an eviction notice. I replied calmly. Fuming, she shot back. You can't serve me eviction papers. This is my home. I decide who stays and who goes. Actually, Carol, this has always been my home. My father was merely managing it on my behalf until I came of age. Now that I'm 20, the property legally belongs to me. I've just completed all the necessary legal formalities, I explained, watching her disbelief deepen. That's impossible. Frank can't just hand over the house to you. It's a marital asset, and he can't transfer it without my consent. Panic was evident in her voice. Carol, this house has been mine long before you came into the picture. It belonged to my maternal grandparents, who left it to me, with my father serving as the custodian until I turned 20. It seems you weren't aware of this little detail, I said, relishing the dawning realization on her face. In a fit of denial, Carol spluttered, You're lying. This can't be happening. You're trying to scam me out of my home. Just wait until Frank hears about this. But the truth was undeniable. The house was legally mine, and her schemes had finally caught up with her. Karma, as they say, had come knocking. In a moment of sheer folly, Carol decided to bring my father into the fray, completely neglecting the crucial step of consulting him about her plan to evict me. It's common courtesy to discuss such matters, especially when it involves family, but Carol, perhaps knowing all too well what his response would be, chose to skip this discussion and barreled ahead with her eviction scheme. Her oversight delighted me. It brought Dad directly into the situation, which only worked to my advantage. Dad came downstairs, drawn by the commotion, and his presence immediately began to calm the storm. What's all the shouting about, Carol? What's going on? He asked, a mix of confusion and concern in his voice. Carol didn't hold back, launching into accusations about my outrageous claims of ownership and her supposed eviction. As expected, Dad turned to me for clarity. He had always been fair, a quality that irked Carol, who preferred his unwavering support, no matter the circumstances. Their disagreements on this issue were frequent, yet Dad remained impartial, seeking to understand both sides of any story. I took a deep breath and explained. Carol confronted me, claiming she was kicking me out and insisting that this was her house and I had no place here. I overheard her plotting to do this on the phone. In a bold move, I served Carol an eviction notice, and Dad's reaction was immediate and visible. Carol, who gave you the authority to decide on evicting Jessica? We never discussed this. Why am I only hearing about it now? His disappointment was palpable, revealing a deep breach of trust. Caught off guard by both the eviction notice and Dad's sudden interrogation, Carol momentarily panicked before slipping into her familiar defensive posture. Jessica's an adult now, Frank. She's been living here rent-free since turning 20. It's normal for parents to encourage their children to become independent at this age. We're just trying to teach her responsibility. But Dad wasn't swayed. That decision is mine to make, not yours. You should have discussed it with me first. His words emphasized his commitment to fairness and mutual respect, qualities Carol had consistently disregarded. He firmly reminded her that she had never taken on a parental role in my life, nor had she contributed anything toward my upbringing. How could you assume you had the right to make decisions about Jessica's living situation? You've been entirely unfair, he asserted. Carol clung to the idea that as Dad's wife, she had equal rights to the house. This is my home too, and Jessica has to leave, she insisted, but Dad countered her claims with the truth. The house was legally mine, not theirs. Carol's shock and disbelief were evident as she struggled to grasp that Dad supported my claim to the home she had believed she could control. Overwhelmed, she accused him of betrayal. Why would you do this? You should have consulted me. Dad stood firm, pointing out her hypocrisy. You had no problem trying to evict Jessica without discussing it with me first. This house has always been meant for her. I've only been managing it until she came of age. Carol's shock deepened as Dad offered to show her the legal documents, but she was too stunned to consider them seriously. Feeling deceived, she lashed out at Dad. You lied to me. This isn't fair. Dad calmly clarified. I never lied. You made assumptions without asking. Remember our prenup? Our assets were meant to remain separate. Despite her accusations, painting me as the ungrateful one for wanting to evict them, I interjected. I'm not evicting Dad. Carol, this situation is a direct result of your actions. I might have even considered letting you stay if you hadn't tried to force me out. This confrontation peeled back the layers of misunderstandings and unveiled hard truths, setting the stage for profound changes in our family dynamics. Deep down, I had always sensed that Carol wasn't the right fit for our family. That intuition had led me to insist on a prenuptial agreement before she married my dad, fearing she might jeopardize our future, especially with financial issues. It was my way of protecting us, showing my dad that I cared about him and our future. Above all, I wanted him to be happy, and if Carol wasn't contributing to that happiness, it might be healthier for them to part ways. I took the time to reassure my dad that he had been a fantastic parent, far from the villain Carol painted him to be. He had done so much for me, and I needed him to recognize his worth. I won't deny that I felt a sense of relief knowing my dad was considering ending things with Carol. After everything she had put us through, it was evident she wasn't the partner my dad needed or deserved. Our heartfelt conversation ended on a peaceful note, with my dad retreating to the guest room for the night, marking the beginning of a new chapter without Carol's chaos. I felt a newfound peace at the thought of her imminent departure, believing we had finally taught her a valuable lesson. But the next morning brought an unexpected twist. Carol was overcompensating, preparing breakfast and showering me with kindness, as if she had transformed overnight into the epitome of care and affection. Even Dad cast skeptical glances, puzzled by her sudden change in demeanor. Despite the awkwardness, I managed a polite "thank you" for the breakfast while questioning the sincerity of her actions. I made it clear that her efforts were unnecessary. "I've been taking care of myself for the last 5 years, Carol. We don't need to start pretending that things can change just like that." I expressed my skepticism about her sudden desire to bond over meals as a family, knowing we had already passed the point where such gestures could make a meaningful difference. Carol insisted on embracing her newfound role, determined to cultivate a close mother-daughter relationship, a notion that felt forced and unrealistic. Given our tumultuous history, it was clear she had spent the night scheming, desperately trying to find a way to salvage her position in our family. However, having witnessed her past behavior and observing my dad barely concealing his amusement at her antics, I remained unconvinced. "Carol, let's get one thing straight, I'm 20 now. The time when I might have needed another parental figure has long passed. I'm fully self-sufficient. Furthermore, the idea of you as a mother doesn't align with reality, so I'm not interested in whatever plan you've concocted," I stated firmly. In an attempt to sway me, Carol appealed to my sense of forgiveness, suggesting we overlook her past mistreatment for the sake of building a happy family, ostensibly to strengthen her marriage with my dad. But it was glaringly evident that her motivations were more about securing her own place in the house than any genuine familial concern. "I'm not sure what marriage you're trying to fortify, especially with its impending end. Trying to stay in this house under false pretenses won't work, Carol. I've made my decision," I concluded, reiterating my stance. Her actions had made it clear that it was time for her to go, and no last-minute change of heart could alter our path. My dad had already made his intentions clear. The divorce was unavoidable due to the irreparable harm Carol had inflicted. Her last-ditch effort to play the victim fell flat, particularly given the prenup she had signed, which left her with no financial leverage. With no options left, Carol resorted to tears, pleading with both me and my dad for forgiveness and another chance. That day tested our patience as we endured her incessant cries for mercy. Eventually, Dad stepped out to consult with his lawyer, initiating the divorce process. Within a week, Carol was officially served divorce papers, marking the end of her bargaining. We explained to Carol that it was time for her to find her own footing, suggesting she seek employment and legal representation for the divorce. Despite her initial hopes of changing our minds, her time in our home came to an end. As agreed, she resisted leaving, but the threat of further legal action finally prompted her to pack her things, tears streaming down her face as she prepared to stay with a friend, having alienated herself from her own family due to her actions. With Carol's departure, a wave of peace washed over our home, restoring it to the warm and welcoming place it had once been. 3 years have passed since that pivotal moment. I'm now in college, close enough to maintain a strong bond with my dad, who has since finalized the divorce. He has ventured back into the dating scene, not to remarry, but simply to enjoy the companionship of others. As for Carol, she has faced her own set of challenges. Last I heard, she was living in a shared apartment, struggling to make ends meet with a minimum wage job due to her limited skills. On a rare occasion, I spotted her from a distance at a grocery store, looking visibly aged and worn by her circumstances. It seemed karma had indeed caught up with her, serving as a harsh lesson about the repercussions of her actions and decisions.